Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here on such short notice. This morning, Canadians across the country were shocked and saddened to learn that a fatal plane crash outside of Tehran had claimed 176 innocent lives. At least 63 Canadians were on board, and a total of 138 passengers on that flight were connecting to Canada. All people who won't be coming home to their parents, their friends, their colleagues, or their family. A newlywed couple, a family of 4, a mum and her 2 daughters, bright students and dedicated faculty members. All had so much potential, so much life ahead of them. On behalf of all Canadians, I want to express my deepest condolences to those who are mourning the loss of a loved one. Your loss is indescribable. This is a heartbreaking tragedy. While no words will erase your pain, I want you to know that an entire country is with you. We share your grief. Dans les moments les plus tragiques, les Canadiens ont l'habitude de se serrer les coudes, d'être là les uns pour les autres. Aux communautés qui pleurent aujourd'hui la perte d'un proche, nous serons là. In the coming days and weeks, our government will continue to work closely with its partners to ensure that this crash is thoroughly investigated. Canadians have questions, and they deserve answers. Minister Champagne will be speaking with the Iranian Foreign Minister and conveying the need for a thorough investigation into this fatal crash. Le ministre Champagne s'est entretenu avec le gouvernement de l'Ukraine, les autorités concernées et bien de nos partenaires. De son côté, le ministre Garneau collabore étroitement avec les responsables de Transport Canada et a communiqué avec ses homologues internationaux. Earlier today, I spoke with President Macron, Prime Minister Johnson, President Trump, and Australian Prime Minister Morrison to discuss the matter. They all expressed their deepest sympathies to the families and to all Canadians and offered their help and support. These calls built on the conversations I've had over the past few days with Chancellor Merkel, NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg, EU Council President Charles Michel, and His Majesty the King of Jordan. About an hour ago, a Ukrainian Airlines plane just landed in Toronto from Kiev. According to the airline, there were 138 passengers who weren't on that flight because they died in the crash on the earlier leg of their travel. There are a number of steps being taken to support the families at Pearson Airport. Right now, our top priority remains the safety and security of all Canadians, may they be at home or abroad. Friends and relatives of Canadians believed to be on board should contact Global Affairs Canada's 24/7 Emergency Watch and Response Centre. Canadian citizens in Iran requiring consular assistance should contact the Canadian Embassy in Ankara, Turkey. To the families grieving, know that the Government of Canada and all Canadians are grieving with you. We will support you in the incredible, difficult weeks and months ahead. This somber day comes in the wake of deeply concerning events in Iraq. Canada condemns the missile attacks launched by Iran last night. I am relieved, as are all Canadians, that all personnel deployed in Iraq are safe. I'd like to take a moment to thank once again the women and men in uniform who have worked hard with our allies to stabilize Iraq and counter Daesh. Their mission is important, and we can all be proud of their work. Je vous assure que nous prenons toutes les précautions nécessaires pour assurer la sécurité de notre personnel civil, militaire et diplomatique. Nous sommes en communication constante avec nos partenaires internationaux et nous tenons les partis d'opposition au courant de la situation présentement. Nous continuons d'exhorter une désescalade des tensions et le dialogue dans la région. encore une fois, merci d'être des nôtres. Je vais maintenant prendre vos questions.
So we'll do one question, one follow, and we'll try to keep the questions and answers short so we can get as many people in. David Cochran, CBC.
Hi there, Prime Minister. I know you've condemned the missile attacks that happened at the military base. I'm wondering if you can do a couple of things. Can you confirm whether there were Canadian forces on that base in danger during the attack? And second, it was a retaliation to the drone strike ordered by the U.S. president that he says was ordered to stop an imminent attack, an assertion for which he's offered no proof. Do you trust Donald Trump's assertion that the drone strike was necessary to stop an imminent attack?
First of all, I can confirm that there were Canadians at the Canadian base in Erbil when the rockets landed, but they are all safe. Canada has long been aware of the threat posed by the IRGC on regional and global safety and security. That is something we have long been aware of. The Americans made a decision based on their threat assessment. We continue to work to counter Daesh in the region. We'll continue to work to stabilize Iraq and its institutions to ensure peace and stability in the region and call for de-escalation.
Ashley Berkeley, CBC. Where are you on the repatriation of Canadian bodies and the investigation? Can you get access given your relationship, your diplomatic relationship there, or will you have to rely on other countries to get that access?
First of all, our initial thoughts are, of course, focused on the families who woke up to terrible, terrible news this morning. We will provide them all the support necessary. We have already begun reaching out and will continue to support these families through some very, very difficult few days ahead. As we move forward, we've had many countries step up to offer their support and assistance as we move forward, whether it's Ukraine or countries like Australia, Italy, France, to assist us in our consular work on the ground. As I said, Minister François-Philippe Champagne will be engaging directly with his Iranian counterpart to request assistance and a presence by Canada, both in Tehran, but also as part of the investigation.
Monsieur Trudeau, le président Trump, plus tôt aujourd'hui, a réclamé une OTAN plus engagée dans le processus du Moyen-Orient. Est-ce que ça vise le Canada? Qu'est-ce que le Canada peut faire de plus en ce moment?
Dans ma conversation justement avec le président, j'ai souligné à quel point le Canada fait partie de cette mission de l'OTAN au niveau de la formation à Bagdad. On a la commande cette année de cette mission-là et on continue à avoir un rôle pour les partenaires internationaux, incluant l'OTAN, dans cette région. On a besoin de stabiliser l'Irak, on a besoin de contrer Daesh. Il va y avoir des discussions avec les partenaires dans la région et les membres de l'OTAN pour voir quelles seront les prochaines étapes.
Évidemment, les missions sont suspendues en Irak. Est-ce que les troupes canadiennes sont toutes au Koweït en ce moment? Est-ce qu'il faut reprendre, à votre avis, rapidement nos missions? Et si oui, pourquoi?
D'abord, on a des troupes au Koweït, mais on a encore des troupes en Irak présentement. Et oui, on devrait continuer notre mission contre Daesh. Nous avons des femmes et des hommes extraordinaires qui servent au sein des forces armées. Et je pense que c'est important de continuer cette mission contre Daesh.
Steve Scheer from Reuters. Prime Minister, can you, we've heard from intelligence officials in 3 countries that the initial assessment was that there was a technical failure that brought down the plane and not an errant missile given the timing. Can you confirm that? Can you rule out any of the causes of the accident?
Obviously, we are very, very early days on the investigation, and it's dangerous to speculate on possible causes, but I will turn to Minister Garneau, who will speak a little more on the details that we know so far on the crash.
So we cannot speculate at this point as to the cause of the tragic air accident that occurred about 2 minutes after taking off. The indications that we have from satellite data that we got from the Ariane system suggests that it took off in a normal fashion, climbing to altitude, a very, very standard departure. However, we lost contact with it, suggesting that something very unusual happened, but we cannot speculate at this point. There are a number of possibilities, and we will have to wait to obtain more information, perhaps from the black boxes, or from other intelligence. But at this point, it's too early to speculate.
Since they are not expected to hand over the black boxes, how do you think that you will get that information? I mean, I know that Minister Champagne is going to speak tomorrow to his Iranian counterpart, but since there are no direct diplomatic relations, are you planning on leaning on other countries like the Ukraine? Or
Thank you. First of all, Transport Canada and GAC offered to the Ukrainians all technical assistance that they might wish to try to help in the investigation of this particular accident. It's also true that the Transportation Safety Board, which is the body that does investigations here in Canada, is also going to be involved because there were Canadian nationals on this particular flight. And they have expertise with respect to black box analysis, and they have indicated that if it was the desire of the Ukrainians and the Iranians, and it is important to point out the Iranians are leading this investigation because it happened on Iranian soil, that Canada would be prepared to assist with respect to black box data interpretation.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Je veux juste revenir sur, bonjour, M. Trudeau. Je veux juste revenir sur une des réponses que vous avez données à mes collègues de CBC quand vous dites sur ce prétexte, si je peux dire, qu'une attaque était imminente de la part de de Qassem Soleimani. Vous dites the U.S. made their decision based on their threat assessment. Est-ce que vous partagez ce threat assessment?
It was a threat assessment that the U.S. made.
Est-ce que vous partagez ce magazine?
It was a threat assessment that the U.S. Was tasked with making and made.
Et sur l'OTAN, vous dites on va avoir ces conversations-là. Est-ce que vous êtes ouvert à bonifier une participation canadienne au Moyen-Orient ou est-ce que vous estimez que vous en faisiez suffisamment?
Le Canada est déjà un des pays qui en fait le plus au niveau de la coalition contre Daesh. Et comme j'ai dit, on a la charge leadership de la mission de formation de l'OTAN. Je pense que dans les jours et semaines à venir, il va y avoir des conversations sur quelle sera la façon qu'on va avancer pour continuer à stabiliser l'Irak, continuer à repousser contre Daesh. Et ça va être une conversation avec, évidemment, les partenaires dans la région, mais aussi avec les membres de la coalition et de l'OTAN.
Prime Minister, you mentioned that given Canada's absence of diplomatic ties with Iran, we're relying on partners and allies to help with consular services, repatriation of bodies, investigation, information about that. And so I'd like to know what specific roles those partners are playing and how Canada is being kept informed of what's going on with the investigation and other matters that we can't handle with our own diplomats.
We are preparing consular teams that will be prepared to go to Iran. There are conversations we have to have with the Iranian government. But as I said, Italy has played a role as our supporting power and our interlocutor in Iran for many years now, has offered all the assistance they can offer. They have offered full assistance. Other countries like Australia and France and Ukraine and others have also offered their support. But perhaps on that, I'll turn to the Deputy Minister at Global Affairs Canada for further discussion on that.
Yes, as the Prime Minister, as the Prime Minister said, the Italy is our protecting power in Iran, and so they will, we have an agreement with them under which they will provide diplomatic representation for us with the government of Iran. We're also reaching out directly to the government of Iran, and Australia and France have also offered their support for us in matters of logistics and that sort of thing. So we are working actively with our friends and allies to put the support in place that we need to provide for the families.
Minister, it's been nearly 6 days since Soleimani was killed. We have troops in a very volatile region of the world. Now we have 69 Canadians that have been killed. Why has it taken you so long to address the nation?
From the very beginning, I have been engaged in these issues with a team, with ministers, with our experts and international allies. We've had 3 meetings of the incident response group. We've continued to be kept up to date and engaged on this issue from the very beginning.
Spoken directly to Canadians.
I'm here today to express my deep grief and condolences for the families who've lost loved ones following this terrible crash actually last night. And we will continue to support these families through these difficult moments that will extend over the coming days and weeks.
Bonjour, Catherine Lévesque, la presse canadienne. Mes questions seraient pour M. Garneau, en fait. Tout d'abord, je voulais savoir, un peu comme la question de mon collègue, est-ce qu'on sait qu'est-ce qui a causé l'écrasement à ce moment-ci? Est-ce qu'il y a des hypothèses qu'on peut écarter déjà à ce moment-ci?
Je dirais que non, on ne connaît pas la cause. On sait que quelque chose de soudain s'est produit, mais on ne connaît pas la cause. Ça pourrait être causé par de multiples raisons. Et puis, il va falloir qu'on attende plus d'informations avant de pouvoir déterminer la cause. Et c'est important à ce moment-ci de ne pas spéculer.
Puis plus tôt aujourd'hui, le gouvernement a dit qu'il allait essayer de trouver toutes les réponses pour les Canadiens parce qu'il y a eu beaucoup de morts. Mais là, c'est l'Iran qui va mener l'enquête. Je me demandais comment le Canada allait s'assurer d'avoir toutes les réponses possibles.
Alors, on comprend que les Canadiens et les Canadiennes veulent avoir des réponses. Et nous aussi, on veut avoir des réponses. C'est très, très important. C'est pour ça que nous avons tendu la main immédiatement à l'Ukraine pour offrir notre expertise. C'est pour ça que l'Office des transports du Canada, le Bureau de la sécurité des transports a fait la même chose. On espère que cette offre sera acceptée parce qu'on pense qu'on peut contribuer et aider à avoir les réponses nécessaires pour déterminer la cause, mais on verra dans les jours à venir.
Donc, vous n'avez aucune assurance en ce moment?
L'Ukraine a reçu reçu positivement notre offre d'aide. Alors, on verra. C'est la première étape.
Rebecca Lindell, Global.
Given that Canada has no diplomatic relationship with Iran, how can we effectively influence the investigation?
I think, as Minister Garneau pointed out, there are multiple roles for different countries. When there comes an accident like this, Canada will be part of that investigation, not only because we have the expertise, but because we have suffered such significant loss of lives for our citizens. But we are going to continue to engage, and the conversation that Minister Champagne will have with his Foreign Minister of Iran counterpart later today will go a long way towards clarifying that we expect to have a role in this investigation, that Canadians will be asking for answers, and we're there to support and find out the truth.
In terms of the impact that the relationship or lack thereof has already had, has it led to delays in getting information to families or getting information about what has happened from Iran to Canada?
So far, in terms of information to families, we've been able to pass along every bit of information that we've gotten. We are, of course, in very early moments on this investigation, but perhaps, Minister Garneau, you have more information on that?
No, at this point, it's still too early. This happened really, we're talking about less than 24 hours ago, so we're scrambling to get as much information as we can, but it's going to take a little while to get some of those answers.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Au sujet
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Au sujet des troupes qui ont été relocalisées et qui sont en train d'être relocalisées, vous n'avez pas spécifié combien il y en a qui ont été dirigés au Koweït à l'heure où on se parle et combien reste à être déplacés. Pouvez-vous être plus spécifique, s'il vous plaît?
D'abord, laissez-moi dire que en matière de sécurité, on met une priorité sur la sécurité de tous les Canadiens, y compris les troupes. Mais vous devez savoir que les hommes et les femmes qui servent au sein des Forces armées canadiennes sont des professionnels qui ont la capacité de répondre à toutes sortes de situations et on a énormément confiance dans le travail qu'ils sont en train de faire. Mais par rapport à leur sécurité, je demanderai au général Vance de prendre la parole.
Merci, Premier ministre. Oui, certainement, nos troupes à Koweït et en Irak sont prêts de continuer la mission si les conditions donnent la droit de le faire. Mais aussi, c'est la situation vers des missiles puis des rockets. C'est dangereux, donc il prend des take cover, il prend les mesures sécuritaires. Donc, nous sommes prêts de continuer. Est-ce que ça donne la bonne réponse, là?
Ça ne répond pas vraiment à ma question, mais c'est pas grave. Merci pour l'effort. Aussi, je voudrais savoir, vous avez dit que tout serait fait pour faire la lumière sur l'écrasement de l'avion. Il va y avoir une enquête, tout ça. Concrètement, qu'est-ce qui est fait à l'heure actuelle? Là, où on en est?
Alors, afin de déterminer la cause, on a besoin d'informations. C'est ce qui nous manque. Et puis, une des sources d'information, bien sûr, les boîtes noires, parce que ça pourrait nous donner de l'information sur ce qui se passait sur l'avion. D'abord, ces deux boîtes. Une, c'est le côté oral qui se fait entre le pilote et la tour de contrôle dans ce cas-ci, et puis aussi les données techniques. Alors, ces données-là pourraient peut-être faire de la lumière sur la cause de l'accident. Et aussi peut-être d'autres informations, supposément du côté intelligence, pourraient se révéler dans les jours à venir. Alors, c'est toute cette information-là qu'on cherche à avoir.
When you spoke with President Trump earlier today, he said he was looking for NATO countries to take a greater involvement in the Middle East. When you spoke with him today, did he specify what that entailed and what he's looking for? And is that something Canada can provide?
We talked about the importance of continuing the fight against Daesh. We talked about the importance of continuing to stabilize Iraq, and he recognized the important role that the international community can play in supporting the move towards a more stable Iraq. NATO has a significant role in the NATO training mission that we're moving forward with, but there are always going to be more reflections on what are the next steps to take given the current circumstances and the path forward that partners in the region and global partners will be looking at to continue this extremely important mission, both to degrade and eliminate Daesh, but also to create stability and prosperity in Iraq.
Did he make any specific requests, though, of Canada? Is he looking for additional troops or support?
No, he did not.
Mike Blanchfield?
Can you say categorically, one way or another, that the plane was not shot down?
I cannot. It is too early to speculate. I would encourage people not to speculate. We are certainly aware that this is a terrible, terrible tragedy. Our focus today is on the many, many families who are grieving, and our focus in the days and weeks to come will be on answering the questions that they have and that indeed we all have as to how this happened.
And how concerned are you that the fact that we don't have diplomatic relations, that Canada has been critical of Iran in the past, how big an obstacle is that to getting an investigator into Iran as part to get direct knowledge of this and not have to rely secondhand information from allies?
I am confident that we are going to be able to be part of the investigation. That is certainly something that we take very seriously, and it is something in which Canada is one of a handful of countries with a high degree of expertise when it comes to these sorts of accidents, and therefore we have much to contribute. And I'm confident that in our engagement, both through our allies and directly, we are going to make sure that we are a substantive contributor to this investigation.
Bruce Campion-Smith.
Prime Minister, good afternoon. Just wondering, given the current the heightened tensions, political and military tensions, could it be that we never get answers about the plane crash? Is that a concern of yours right now?
No, I believe that there is a clear need for answers. Obviously, Ukraine has a need and a right to ask for answers. Canada is very concerned on this, but many of the citizens on that airplane were Iranian citizens as well. And there is a desire by everyone to see what actually happened, and we're going to work very hard to establish the facts of what happened.
Just back to the broader security situation there and the request or the suggestion from the President to have NATO do a greater role. Given the current climate, we saw the Iraqi Parliament pass a motion about U.S. and foreign troops. Are you convinced that we're welcome there, in terms of our troops being there? And do you have a sense of when the training, when the training missions may resume?
People in Iraq, including at the political level, recognize how important it is to maintain a strong presence in the fight against Daesh, that it is something that requires international support to do. There are obviously questions that are being asked and about what that will look like into the future, but there is a recognition that there is a need to ensure stability and countering direct Daesh in Iraq, and we will continue to focus on that. As for when the NATO mission might pick up again, Harj?
So we've been discussing this current situation with our international partners, myself, Minister Champagne, and the Chief of Defense Staff, and all of us, having a thorough discussion. But the first priority is always going to be force protection, given the current situation. I think we all agree that it's important to continue this mission because of the threat that Daesh pose to the country and also to our international partners. But we need to take this one step at a time. But as we move forward, we do need to keep in mind that just like before, all the decisions that we have made was with the Iraqi government, and we will continue to do so. So those discussions are going to be very important, but we will day by day look at the current situation and look at those steps. The goal is to continue on with that mission, but it's too early just yet. But those discussions are currently ongoing to determine when and how we can start that. Thank you.
Okay, last question. Bill Curry, Globe and Mail.
Maybe we could just a domestic question. You were on a prolonged vacation. Your government's been a bit slow to get going. So what were you doing in Costa Rica? Was it purely a personal vacation, or did you have officials there? Can you explain the long delay in government activity the last few weeks?
I can assure you that from the moment the drone strike happened onwards, I was engaged with officials in briefings and in looking at what next steps Canada could play in reducing tensions in the region, in ensuring safety of our troops, in ensuring the continued success of the mission against Daesh.
You mentioned you spoke to the President the last while. Did you express any concern about his approach to this whole issue over the last few days?
We continue to press in all our conversations, including with the President, for a de-escalation of tensions in the region, for a path forward that will ensure stability in Iraq and a continued fight against Daesh. That is something that we all agree on.
Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Bonne journée.